Today, it's all in the details. FiberTech is making your fishtails come to life, while Split Cane Rod is bending bamboo for fly rods.
And then it's X-rays and goo guns as ice fishing electronics come to life. People are passionate about outdoor equipment. Get this, Americans spend more than $20 billion a year on gear. But no one ever really sees how their stuff gets made.
Well, that's where we come in. Each week, we throw open the factory doors and give you a behind-the-scenes look at how your favorite gear is made.
Made for the outdoors.
Welcome to Made for the Outdoors. So it's always fun to feature the powerhouses in the outdoor industry. They're doing big things. Everybody knows their name. But what about the little guys? The hardworking, small, under-the-radar companies like this shop. They too are creating quality products that are made for the outdoors.
As you drive north through the Brainerd Lakes area, signs of a cool little business you kind of have to look to find.
People think it's odd that I do so much hands-on stuff here at FiberTech. This is what I love to do.
Out back, owner Mike Thielen paints away his days.
Every day. I do this normally early in the morning, and we mix that up.
Mike mixes up a secret stew.
We used to mix this up by hand in the old days.
Think liquid tools of his trade. Stuff that starts like this and in a few days will look like this.
This is the closest thing we can get to Mother Nature.
Mike makes fish mounts.
We got a warranty that I always tell people it's 5 years. If I live for 10 years, you got 10-year warranty, but when they close the casket, it's done. And I just think that's just so cool that, you know, I'm making an item that lasts so long and people are gonna hand it down to their grandchildren.
Mike spent 18 years perfecting the art of fiberglass, a process which starts when someone lands a dreamer and snaps a quick photo. They send in the shot and a few measurements, and Mike gets to work.
I'm dealing with fishermen here. Everything's a story. This is the bread and butter of the business here. Not too many people have the molds. The molds are the main thing. We got well over 4,000 molds.
Yep, 4,000. After all, think about it. He's got to have every kind of fish in every size.
I got probably 35, 40 different molds of 30-inch walleyes to pick from. And they're different girths, different lengths, different shape. If you take care of the mold, it'll last a lifetime. I can pop hundreds and hundreds of fish out of it.
Mike paints on a gel coat and then lays prickly fiberglass by hand.
You gotta be tough. It's just like people. I mean, they put their hands in fish's mouths all the time. Cut and beat up a little bit. You guys are lucky you're filming this because I don't even let my wife watch what I do. This is kind of a little trade secret here.
Once the fiberglass settles, Mike locks it up and lets the molds dry.
There's a fish. See all the detail in there? That's what nobody got. Detail. See here, I can take this head here, that on there, and I can turn that head the way I want. Look at the picture, maybe it was this head here. I can put that head there on there. Or if I wanted to, let's say somebody caught a northern walleye. I could go ahead and put that on there like that. I can make any story come true.
That's the thing about Mike's mounts. Think about it. Anyone could send him a photo and any measurements. Fishtails.
Well, I'd say like 90% of my customers says it was this big, and you know, as long as their credit card's good, I don't care how much they lie. You know, let's stretch her out a little bit. It's better for me. So I can make anybody's BS story come true. This is where we bring the fish after we pop them out of the molds.
I call it the white room, where all the molded fish come to life. Thanks in large part to the steady hands of Gil.
You know, that's a special talent. You don't learn that overnight.
Gil creates tiny teeth one at a time using an old technique.
And most people don't realize, you know, how much work actually goes in this. But when you do it every day like we do, we make it look simple. We just take the extra, 20, 30 minutes and make it right on these things. On a typical day, we'll get most of these here, fins and eyes and everything on them.
Eyes are another key.
They got more of a bulge to them. And when you got more of that bulge to it, it's more real life looking.
Maybe the most crucial part, the painting. Another secret step Mike just won't let us see.
Well, that's just like the Colonel's secret recipe.
We just know the mount goes from this to this in just a couple of days.
And after several hours of going through detail and everything else, this is what you get for the final product.
All this from a guy who admits art just wasn't quite his calling.
I flunked art class in high school, and I ran into my teacher, and he said he wants to fix my grade. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. Truly a blessing, come to work every day.
Coming up next, how do you turn bamboo into a piece of art that also catches fish? We're going to show you right after this quick break. You're watching Made for the Outdoors.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Splash Products, Access Covers, Game Fair, and Coates RV and Ice Cabins.
Welcome back to the show. Well, I don't know about you, but when I hear words like customized or handmade, it always sparks my interest. So let's now head to Victoria, Minnesota, and meet Larry Donahue, a fly rod perfectionist. Welcome to the basement.
I do like being in the shop.
Yes, you heard right. Larry Donahue's basement.
You know, how long do you spend in your basement? I spend a lot of time down here because I enjoy doing it. It's just fun.
Larry builds high-end fly fishing rods made from bamboo. The process is quite in-depth. There's cutting, splitting, sanding, flaming, gluing, dipping, silk wrapping, and more. From beginning to end, one rod takes about 50 hours.
Yeah, bamboo is an interesting material. There's 1,800 varieties of bamboo. We use one, Tonkin cane. It's a grass technically, but it works like wood.
This is high-quality A-grade bamboo. After it's cut to length, Larry splits it and starts sanding.
Getting your hand too close to the sander. Hazard of doing a bamboo rod.
And it's only fun if you play with a little fire. Flaming the bamboo tempers the cane, wicks the moisture out, and ensures the rod will stay straight.
And this is where we get down to our final specs on a rod.
Larry is all about the details,
This is why I wear gloves, because this is a great time to put a cut in the hand.
especially when it comes to this next step.
I spend a lot of time, making rods. And I love doing it, so for me, I wake up thinking about it, I go to bed thinking about it,
These are 6-strip hexagonal rods.
and I'm going to hit it with a little bit of water.
They come with 2 or 3 pieces and 2 tips. And that requires 6 individual strips of bamboo to be glued together. To hold the pieces in place, this machine spins thread up and down the wet rod.
Well, what I'm doing right now is just making sure that each flat is pressed in there as firm as you can, and
If it passes inspection,
take a look at it. And that looks pretty good, so we'll go hang it up.
it's then locked away to dry. During the drying downtime, Larry then prepares to file the edges.
And this is where you got to be pretty accurate because you don't want to roll the edges, but you need to file off all that excess glue.
Larry builds about 20 or so rods a year, and he's been doing this for more than a decade. He turns the cork for the grip, and also spends about an hour and a half varnishing.
I'm slowly pulling it up out of the varnish so it's leaving a real thin coat.
The last chapter is wrapping the guides using real silk.
Well, there you go.
And every custom build is then documented in here.
Every single rod. I know who owns it, when they bought it.
The size, color, shape, every detail. The story behind the art.
You know, I want functional art. It looks nice and that people are proud to fish my rods, but I also want people to actually fish them. I don't want it to stick it on the mantle and have it sit there and collect dust. I'm making them to fish them.
And fish 'em he does. Larry says he spends a lot more time in the shop than out here. However, he enjoys the crafting just as much as the casting.
Oh. Yes, sir. Pretty little brown trout. You know, you're out there on a river fishing your own bamboo rod and using flies you tied yourself. It's pretty cool. Bamboo works. That's a nice fish. Well, I think it goes back to it's a passion. If I didn't enjoy the process, if I didn't enjoy working with my hands, if I didn't enjoy the detail that it takes to do it, it's not worth it.
Coming up, special lab coat makes me look awfully smart, don't you think? I discovered the story behind Marcum Electronics.
In the world of fishing, everyone is looking for the next great bait or piece of technology to help them catch more fish, right? It's the perpetual dream. Well, here in New Hope, Minnesota, Marcum Technologies is doing just that. They build these fishing sonar units. And believe me, these are quite the story when you see how they get made for the outdoors. So, you're John Marshall, and this is your place. Where the heck are we?
This is Versity Electronics. We are the manufacturer of Marcum Technologies.
And what is Marcum?
We make underwater cameras and sonar, mainly for ice fishing.
Talk about a staple name in the ice fishing game. Marcums allow anglers to see their baits, the fish, everything underwater. High-tech machines that die-hard anglers consider a must-have. And they're electronics produced right here in New Hope, Minnesota. Good old USA. Oh, and the rule in here, never, ever cross the yellow line without the coat.
Stop there. We got a static sensitive area here, so we need to...
I'm out of line again, of course.
We got a coat here that has carbon fibers woven in. It'll help reduce static discharge.
You're going to kind of show us the first step here. This is where it all happens.
This is our surface mount process.
First up in the production process, building a circuit board.
We take a blank circuit board, buy all the resistors, capacitors, solder paste, just like you would stencil a shirt.
Look at that. In this tiny little area here, they have to solder over 1,000 little spots.
This fancy machine wipes on the solder and the board runs on a conveyor to the next machine.
That board goes from the screen printer over here to this machine, which is flying. What it's doing is it's putting all the little electrical components on that board. It does thousands of pieces in just a couple of minutes. And then it runs down the conveyor and it goes to the dryer where it sits for about 5 minutes.
The drying machine melts the solder and locks all the components to the board.
Completed piece comes out of the dryer.
Well, pretty close. It's not exactly a dryer. It's a reflow oven.
I've been corrected.
Across the walkway, workers solder on secondary parts like the power cord and the plug for the camera. Some of these details so minute, employees use microscopes.
Wow, it's just such exacting little detail.
It's very detailed. Think once you give it a shot. Okay, so we'll strap you up here as a ground strap.
As well as that special coat, all employees on the line must wear a wrist strap to funnel away any board zapping current.
This is set up for a right-hander. I'm a lefty.
An entire peanut gallery behind me.
Those just go in and down.
I sweat out my first circuit board welds.
A little bit of flux,
A little bit of flux.
touch the pad.
I'm trying.
There you
Oh,
go.
hey, look at that, it worked.
My pace might be slow, but it's thorough.
I'm gonna be able to talk to ET when I'm done with this thing. Can I?
With the sonar board complete, the Marcum is about ready to come alive. Up next, radiation, a wicked goo gun, and a product defined.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Banks Outdoors, Open Air Solutions, Wiley Point Lodge, and by Central Boiler.
Made in the USA. Pretty rare when it comes to building electronics. Maybe that's why Marcum Technologies allowed us behind closed doors into the lab to see how Marcum fish finders come alive. With the circuit boards now built, each unit passes through QC.
Hui is working inside the orange box. Yeah, that means stay back, radiation. This is actually a good old-fashioned X-ray machine though. What he is doing is using the machine to look at that board to make sure all those little components you can't see are connected properly and make sure that the components are exactly as they need to be and that the board is ready for the next step.
That next step, bringing the Marcum board to life.
And with the click of a mouse, the brain learns. All the information is in, and now this thing is wired, it's alive, and it's ready to go.
But a sonar unit is only half complete unless it has the transducer. The transducer shoots a signal into the water which bounces off any fish, rocks, sand, really anything underwater. The transducer catches those reflected sonar echoes, and then they show up on the electronics screen.
This is where we take the parts you looked at the other end of the factory and we encapsulate them in two-part epoxy.
It's the kid in me. It's messy, fun stuff.
You want to give it a shot?
Yeah. All I have to do is grab the gun, give the trigger a squeeze, and let go before the epoxy runs over.
More? Stop! That's not as easy as it looks.
Still, I think I aced it. While the transducer's dry, it's time to wrap up assembly.
This was the point of the process where all the components are actually complete. And it's time to put them all together to create a final product. And that's why Arnette's in business. You know these things like the back of your hand.
All day, yes I do.
So if I were to test you and time you, a couple minutes.
Yeah, a couple minutes. Usually it'll take the ordinary guy maybe 20, 30 minutes to put it together, but I can beat that.
What he's saying is he is not an ordinary guy.
Just watch.
I'm gonna put the power cables in first. This is a camera cable.
Arnette installs plugs in back first, attaching them and tightening them.
We have the sonar cable. And then we have the driver board. This makes everything go.
If that's the one I wired, it may not go.
Now we gotta attach the wires.
He adds a waterproof gasket and connects the screen.
There you have it, LX9 put together in under 20 minutes.
Actually closer to 10 minutes. From here, Arnette hooks up power for a test.
Power, hold it.
The unit fires up. He checks all settings.
That'll be it, everything works, so it's time to box it.
So like that, Marcum comes to life. Now comes the fun part. It's time to fish.
On the ice with the Marcum, fishing goes like this. Drop in sonar, hopefully see a few fish, because if they're there, the sonar will see them.
This is the top of the ice, and that's the bottom of the lake. Might be something on the bottom there.
Braids, I think I see fish. Let's see if we can catch one quick. Boom. Oh. What happened?
You missed it!
These electronics at times make fishing so easy, even a kid, well, you know the rest.
Copy.
So the next time you see someone ice fishing,
Whoa, look at that one. They're getting bigger.
you'll better understand how their gear gets made for the outdoors.